Welcome back. Republicans are gaining momentum with 6 days to go before the midterm elections. A new Wall Street Journal poll shows Republicans have a slight edge over Democrats due to the growing support from Latino voters and suburban women. The latest Fox News Power Rankings projects the GOP will control 236 House seats. And then in the Senate, 4 seats are still up for grabs. Republicans do have the edge. The president taking a jab at the GOP on the campaign trail yesterday. Watch.
So God bless you all, God protect our troops, and God give some of our Republican friends some enlightenment.
Joining us right now is Tennessee Congressman and member of the House Ways and Means Committee, David Kustoff. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Marie.
What do you make of Joe Biden attacking you and your colleagues?
You know, I think he doesn't have anything to talk about. You know, the problem is that he doesn't understand the problems that people are facing, that my constituents face. I've just been on a bus trip last week visiting all 20 counties in my district, 4 days. People are talking about the economy. They're talking about crime. They're talking about the border. And going back to the economy, which is really the #1 issue, just having trouble making ends meet. He doesn't understand the problems, and he, nor Pelosi, nor Schumer are offering any solutions. And that's why I think these projections for next week on Election Day are so good for Republicans, both in the House and the Senate.
So you agree with the number of seats that I just mentioned? You think that the House is going to get as many as 236?
It very well could. I think conservatively, being conservative, 15 to 20 seats. But the winds are blowing, and you know that because you see the Democrats out there, Biden and everybody else campaigning, and they're in a panic. And they're in a panic because they helped create the situation as it relates to inflation by passing all of these big, huge bills, $1.9 trillion for the American Rescue Plan and whatnot, and they've got nothing to talk about.
What is it, $5 trillion? I mean, I've heard $5 trillion, or even someone said $9 trillion. Is it $5 trillion, do you think, that they've actually spent? What's the number in the last year and a half?
I mean, you know, when you talk about trillions, it's really, even though I've been in Washington now for 5 years, it's hard to put my arm around it. $1.9 trillion for the American Rescue Plan, over $1 trillion for infrastructure, $745 billion for Manchin's Inflation Enhancement Act, and the hits
keep. And you got the student bailout too, right?
That's exactly right.
That's not even included in it's. And this is Maya McGinnis, because we're both nerds and we love Maya McGinnis at the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget. Joe Biden has approved $5 trillion, nearly $5 trillion in new borrowing since he took office. A lot of these spending plans, like in the Inflation Reduction Act, these policies will turn into new entitlements, like the premium subsidy for Obamacare. Who on the planet thinks that's going to go away if the Democrats are in charge? I quickly want to ask you, because we talk about the war on fossil fuels, the new corporate minimum tax, almost $12 billion tax on crude oil and petroleum products, and then a new natural gas tax. That was all in the Inflation Reduction Act. How quickly could you reverse that? You want to talk about opening the spigots? You take the foot off the backs of energy producers? That would help.
Well, again, Biden is throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. And if we get control of the House and the Senate come January after the November election, they would have to jam that through during this lame duck session, which I think is, #1, highly improbable. But, you know, I look at history a lot to see what works and what doesn't. President Carter tried the exact same windfall tax on oil and gas companies in 1980. And our production went down because of that windfall tax, and it was ultimately repealed in 1988. So let's not repeat bad history.
Yeah, I mean, the president has been criticized for this windfall tax. The Journal editorial board this morning out calling it energy policy for dummies. I'm sure you saw that op-ed. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers even wrote on Twitter, "I'm not sure I understand the argument for a windfall profits tax. If you reduce profitability, you will discourage investment, which is the opposite of the objective." But what I'd love you to explain is the bureaucracy that this administration has put in place to actually limit the amount of production. So here you have Joe Biden at the podium yelling about oil companies left and right, saying we want more production, but isn't his policy the policy that has made it difficult to do just that?
No doubt about it. When Joe Biden put his hand on the Bible on January 20th, 2021, gas on average was about $2.39 a gallon. We know what it is now. When he went into office, immediately issuing executive orders, killing the Keystone Pipeline, disincentivizing American producers from wanting to produce here. So you don't have to be an economist to know that when you limit supply, when you limit domestic supply, the price is going to go up. This is wholly created by Biden and his executive orders and the progressive left. My hope is, here's my hope, that once we get control of the House and the Senate, that Biden will come out of his far left corner and maybe take a page from Bill Clinton in 1995 when Republicans swept in 1994 and say, I want to work with Republicans to try to get things done for this country.
I love your optimism, but don't hold your breath. I think that might be a little bit of wishful thinking. Can you talk to us a little bit about what exactly you guys will defund if you get control of the House and Senate? Talked about the IRS, 87,000 new agents. What else?
Well, Kevin McCarthy has said that's going to be one of the first orders of business when we take control in January, is to defund those 87,000 IRS agents. I talked about being on this bus last week. I heard a lot from people that that really concerns them. They know that they're going to be audited. They know that there are going to be more hassles and more red tape. That's not what this country's about. So that will be one of the first orders of business. You asked this, and I'll answer it in a different way. Oversight is going to be a very important tool that we use both in the House and the Senate. In the IRS, I'm very concerned about confidential taxpayer information.
And where all of this money is going, particularly Ukraine, tens of billions of dollars, oversight is going to be absolutely critical.
It will be both in the House and the Senate, and where I'm on the Ways and Means Committee to make sure that the IRS that we can wrap them in and make sure that our confidential taxpayer information doesn't get released to the public.
Are you going to be able to stop the tax increases?
Well, we're going to, there's some things that we can do through the CRA. In terms of executive orders, but we will look at recalling what we can. But remember, in the Senate, we'll need 60 votes to get some things done.
Yeah, for sure. Congressman, good to see you.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Rep Kustoff joining us. Quick break, and then we are